Well, hello everyone and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about economic uncertainty, but we have about 4 or 5 minutes until the official kickoff of our hour, or I will stay. We will stay and continue to answer questions till it's done. But if you wouldn't mind, put in chat who you are, where you're from. I have a whole stack of questions and comments here that I will get to. And I would love to know who is here and what you do. Please say hello. And so here in the studio, our brand new studio, Susan is on chat and Indy is on the board. So
Hey everybody, I'm here. I'm just
here.
on chat today.
There you go. She is here. She is here. So yeah, and I want to say thank you to everyone. Like I said, so many comments. I sent an email. I posted on Whiz Bang Retailers. I asked our Platinum Mastermind group members for their questions and comments, and I'm 100% confident that this is going to be time well spent for you. And before we get going, why is it going to be time well spent for you? Well, when things get crazy, it helps to get out of the madness for a while and to think about things, to reflect on things, to be able to pause long enough to think critically about stuff. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. So again, Susan is on chat, and Susan is a really, really smart person, and she types really fast. So
not that fast.
So
not that fast. Okay. So actually, I'm pretty slow typer. So if I'm slow replying to your comments, just give me a little grace. Thanks.
All right. So who do we have, Susan?
I'm also not used to being the chatter. I'm used to being on things. So we have a lot. We have
slide around.
That's okay. We've got Karen. We've got Robin from Home Sweet Home Quilting.
All right, Robin.
We've got Lisa, Queen of Books, Read.
All right,
Lisa. We'd love to see Lisa. We've got Jay. We've got Katie Dewey. We've got JC Hunt Lou. We've got Brown's Kitchen. We've got a lot of people popping up. So we're super glad to see all you guys.
Wonderful. Super glad to see everyone. So
we've got Kelly Murray Larson from Grand Haven, Michigan.
I know, and I just sent Kelly a text and asked her what. So Kelly has several ice cream stores and a gourmet food store with a lot of great candy. So I asked her if the price of candy was going up because cacao clearly is not grown in America, and she said yes. So anyway, I'll tell you what. Is it time? Is it?
We've got 1 minute.
So 1 minute.
And just say. Okay,
Can we give Susan a real mic?
No. This is fine. This is fine. I'm good. I will just remember to turn the mic up. I just can't remember.
Just keep it on.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, lots of great folks popping in from all over North Dakota, Pennsylvania, California, Iowa, all kinds of great stuff. But if we asked people to reply to our quick email announcement about this yesterday, if they have questions, if you've got questions, pop them right in there in the chat. And, if it's something that Bob's not covering, we'll make sure that he gets to those questions.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And like I said, we just decided to do this yesterday. And so the response has been amazing. And thank you. I had an outline of what I wanted to talk about, but your comments really informed this conversation even more. So let's get going. So the first thing that we have to sort of clarify about this hour is that we're really not talking about tariffs per se. What we're talking about is economic uncertainty. Just sort of happens to be tariffs are what are causing the economic uncertainty. So, and I think we can all acknowledge that things are quite uncertain and quite unsettled right now. And so that's really what this is about. This is not about tariffs per se. It's about uncertainty. And just as a little background, I have been in retail since the early 1980s. Yes, that does date me. So I have lived through several recessions and COVID. I have created a couple of crises in my business, self-induced, self-inflicted crises. So I'm just sharing that as a way of saying I've been where we are now. And I think that what I have to share, well, what I know that what I have to share is applicable because I've been through it several times. So the first thing let's talk about is this idea of emotional amplitude. So several people said that, made the word they use is whiplash, right? So it went from, is there going to be tariffs to there are tariffs. Then the tariffs were escalated. Then the tariffs were put on pause, but the tariffs to China were increased. So whiplash, we don't know what's going to happen. So amplitude is a term that applies to waves. And amplitude is the difference between the top of the wave and the bottom of the wave against the medium. And when I talk about emotional amplitude, what we want to do is rather than have a wave that looks like this, we want a wave that looks like that. And what does that mean for us here? It means don't get too high, don't get too low. I know it's easy to get panicked. I know, and some people have accused me of being flippant, that, I'm over optimistic, not realistic. No. I just know that the higher you get and the lower you get, the farther away from your ability to think clearly, to engage in critical thinking, and make good decisions. So sort of to piggyback on that is this idea of too much past, too much present, and not enough now. So the past and too much past, too much future, and not enough now. And while the past teaches us lesson and informs us, and the future is unknown, what we really want to do is we want to stay as focused on what is actually in front of us as possible. This is what we're going to talk about today. Focus and efficiency. Focus and efficiency. So let's talk about focus. The first and most important thing I think to share with you is your number one focus is your customers, right? A great customer experience is the foundation of your growth. It's your number one competitive advantage, and it is a way that you are going to most effectively tariff-proof your business. You see, when your customers love you, and when your customers come to expect an amazing experience from you, they're going to come to you, and all of these little gyrations, all of these things that we're going to talk about become less and less important. Keeping you in business, coming into your store to get that good feeling becomes more important than potential price increases, becomes more important than what's going on in the economy. There have been a lot of these comments are around pricing and things like that. But again, when people come into an independent brick and mortar retail store and they get a great experience, they are not nearly as prone to price pressures as if they are when they're going on to Amazon. All the big box stores and Walmart and Amazon and the chains, they're all affected. The macroeconomic conditions determine what they do. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that macroeconomics conditions affect what you do. They are not nearly the driver that they are in those big brands. So if you were at the retail recharge that we did a week and a half ago, you know that we showed the example of a freighter and a speedboat. And the freighter represents the big brands. The freighters are Amazon, Walmart, Target, and they have built-in competitive advantages, but they also have built-in competitive disadvantages. They cannot move as quickly. They are not as nimble as you can be. You know, the things that you're going to learn here in the next 45, 50 minutes are all things that you, not all, but most of them are things that you can apply in your business right now. So that's the sort of the thing to think about. I have in my notes here, rare equals valuable, and a great experience, the kind of experience that makes people feel good, the kind of experience that makes your store feel like a refuge from the storm is valuable. So understand that a great experience is rare, therefore it is valuable. And then one more thing that I'm saying here, that I'm seeing in my notes here, is that don't look at, this is a problem. I'm not diminishing what's going on. I'm not diminishing the anxiety from your customers. I'm not diminishing your anxiety. I am not diminishing the uncertainty. But one thing that we know for a fact is that every problem represents opportunities. And so Rich DeVos is one of the co-founders of the Amway Corporation, and the Retail Success Summit happens at the DeVos Convention Center. And so Rich and his partner, Jay Van Andel, decided to make hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investments in downtown Grand Rapids. And it happened right when a recession was starting. And the local business press asked him, they said, "Aren't you afraid of a recession?" And he said, "I choose not to participate." And that's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to choose not to participate. Pay attention, be aware, make adjustments, but choose not to participate. So Maureen Doran from Skirt, who was in our Platinum Mastermind group, had this comment. She said that she was talking to a friend, a wise friend, who said you should have a contingency plan. Okay.
I'm just looking at you.
Okay. You should have a contingency plan.
I just took a break to look at him instead of type furiously, and he's
Did I say
he's
something
scared.
wrong?
He's scared of me.
Well, she said, and even have a contingency, a backup plan A, B, and C. But then she said, but the word is don't catastrophize it, right? Don't make it bigger than it is. If you go past plan A, B, or C, and you're all the way down to plan D, E, or F, you're spending too much time in the future and not enough time in the now. You're spending too much time worrying about what might be and not enough time worrying about what you can do right now. So again, when some people see problems, see opportunities. That a whole bunch of the world is going to be pulling back. This is your opportunity to move forward. This is your opportunity to create a better experience. This is your opportunity to grab market share. This is your opportunity. So recognize that. So now let's talk about mindset things real quickly. And the first thing, if you're taking notes, and I do hope you're taking notes, is always respond to stress with action. Again, I'm not diminishing the anxiety of what's happening. I mean, I feel it. Susan feels it. We were talking earlier. Everybody's feeling it, right? The world is topsy-turvy right now. Always respond to stress with action. 3 different ways to respond to action. First of all, physiological. What can you do with your body? And, a physiological change, a super quick physiological change can often change your mindset and move you from being off track to on track. Couple of ideas. Number one, take a walk. All of the research says when you get out in nature, get a breath of fresh air. I don't care if it's just walk around the block, you start feeling yourself getting overwhelmed, go for a quick walk. Move, breathe, be outside. Take a deep breath. You don't have time to go, if your store's filled with people, just take a deep breath. Again, the physiology, change your physiology. And the third idea around physiological changes, take a big smile, right? I mean, do that right now. Smile really big. It changes the way you feel. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to catch. We're trying to, whenever you feel that stress, catch it, recognize it, and do something to let it go. Those are three physiological ways that you can change your relationship with stress. The second thing is psychological. And psychological is, physiological is what's happening in your body, psychological, what's happening in your brain, and psychological is this whole idea of catch. Catch it when you're feeling the stress, relax into it, and release it. Catch, relax, release. That can be a mantra, right? You're paying attention, you're being mindful. Another thing is just to have a little mantra, to have a little phrase that you repeat whenever you catch yourself becoming stressed out. Peace, be still, or I got this, or one of my favorites that I'm going to come to later is I'm an entrepreneur, I figure shit out, right? I mean, this idea of having a catchphrase that you use whenever you feel stressed out. And then the third way to respond to stress with action is what can you do as a business person? And we're going to go through a whole list of strategies and tactics, but this is where it really starts to make a difference. So, in fact, if you don't mind, put in chat, as a business owner, what are some of the things that you do to respond to stress with action? Whether it's physiological, whether it's psychological, or whether it's as a business. So let's talk about some business things here. Feeling the stress? Guess what? Pull out your camera and go live. Walk around your store. Show some people what you have. But the act of doing something to change the course of your business will give you momentum. And that's the whole name of the game, to get out of the negative headspace and get into the positive headspace. Call a customer. One of the things that you can do is you can go into your database and pull up a list of your top 50 or 100 customers. And if it gets slow and you start to feel a little stressed, call somebody on the phone. Just say, hey, just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. You don't feel comfortable calling somebody on the phone, write them a handwritten note. Just, hey, love to see you again. Tactically, you could put a gift certificate to your store in those notes, but do something. You can, if you have other team members on the floor, you can walk around your town, walk into other stores, give them gift certificates, but respond to stress with action. And so I don't mean to get foo-foo and woo-woo here, but I know it to be true that when you do something, when you start the hustle, when you respond to stress with action, the universe kind of turns and it tilts your way. And I also know from experience that if you just sit in an empty store and hope that somebody comes in, the only thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a vendor who calls and says, where's my money, right? So you want to do what you can to make your momentum move forward. So I see Susan's got her microphone.
Yeah, so the people on can read the chat, but I thought you might like to hear about what some of the people are saying that they're doing, the actions that they're taking. Simple to Sublime says, hold the vision, trust the process.
There you go. Great.
Katie says, walk on the beach, listen to business podcasts. Patty Zeller says, water aerobics help. And she also says, which I love this, put things into perspective. Think about all the good stuff, which I said gratitude is always helpful. Sherry says, say a power-packed short prayer. That's hard to say on that once. Yeah. Shelley says, I go roller skating. And Allison says, walk, repeat. Action cures fear. And sometimes I just cry.
And sometimes just cry. You know, that's, thank you all for sharing those things. I remember, and many of you participated during COVID when we went live 5 days a week. We went live every morning, 5 days a week for, I think, 11 weeks. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody says, yeah, I just keep plugging away. And every once in a while, I have to grab a bottle of wine, go into my closet, drink and cry. And she said it with a sense of humor, but to that point, you know, how you feel is how you feel. And just, you know, when I talk about catch, relax, release, how you feel, I notice I don't say catch, suppress, catch, and understand how you feel is how you feel. But, you know, feel it. It's okay. You have a right to be nervous. You have a right to that anxiety. What you can't do, though, is let that anxiety overwhelm you. You have to deal with it. So, you know, I mean, that's really, truly, Michael Singer is the one who sort of taught me that. This is why a mindfulness habit practice is so important. Because the more mindful you are, the sooner you catch yourself being stressed, being anxious, being afraid. And when you catch that, just recognize it's okay. These are human tendencies. So just relax. I'm stressed today, you know, but then move on. Because every time you do the catch, relax, release, the power of that anxiety becomes diminished. Okay, so the final note that I have on my mindset notes, and I'm going to repeat it, I said it earlier, part of your mantra needs to be, part of your mindset should be this idea, we're entrepreneurs, we figure shit out. I'm sorry I use that word, but that's the right word in this context. You know, this is what we do. This is what we did during COVID, and this is not nearly as bad as COVID. And most of you made it through COVID. And how did you make it through COVID? You just kept pivoting. Our friend Hope Bursch said, I pivoted so much, I felt like I was pirouetting. And that's what we just need to, you know, you got this. You have this. Just recognize that. So when you're doing catch, relax, release, you know, when you're done, carry on, make it happen. So next, let's talk about things that you can do with your team. Because this is now what we're doing is we're moving from mindset to skill set. Now we're going to talk about the skills you need to either employ or develop to do the most with what you have during these times. So the first thing is the idea of leadership and management. Let's just recognize this. Remember I talked about focus and efficiency? You need to get the absolute most from your team. You can't afford to carry dead weight. Can we agree on that? If you agree with that, say amen. You know, one of the mistakes, remember we talked about some people are going to pull back and other people are going to gobble up their market share. A lot of people are going to start shortening their hours to save on payroll. That is not the right strategy. The right strategy is to keep your hours, maybe even extend your hours. Again, with this idea, I'm going to take customers from my competition that are pulling back, but this, go back and keep or extend your hours, but make sure you're doing more with the team you have in place. So, what does that mean? It means I'm asking you, in fact, put it in chat. If you have somebody on your team right now who needs to go away, please don't put their name in there, but somebody else might be watching. But if you have somebody, or put how many people you have on your team who you would be better served if you let them go and replace them, that you would be better served, that your customers would get a better experience, that you would be a lot less stressed, and that your business would run a lot better. I see Susan over there.
It's
smirking.
Just funny. Burlap and Daisy says, the team is me, myself, and I. We really need a team meeting.
Burlap and Daisies, that meeting might be one of those in the closets with a bottle of wine, right? But am I right? So this is an interesting dynamic, because really, so that is what I'm suggesting to you, this idea that you can't afford to carry dead weight. But I know what a lot of you are thinking. A lot of you are thinking, but wait a second, Bob. I mean, I have a hard time finding people. I'll share with you. I had a conversation with a client once, and she was talking about the pride she felt that she kept her team members for a long time. But as the conversation went on, she acknowledged that the most drama and the most problems came from her longest standing employees. And then what she said was so smart, and exactly what I'm sharing with you. She said, it made me realize I need to up my recruiting and my onboarding game. You see, if you're a skilled recruiter, you can bring in a lot of highly qualified applicants pretty quickly. If you have a training program in place, you can bring them up to speed quickly. So we're not going to talk about training per se here, but just recognize that that recruiting, hiring, and training are all skills. And right now, if you have the Retail Mastery System, I want to encourage you to go into the staff development module. I mean, that module is so filled with great stuff, and that will sort of get your head back into the I need a great team mentality. So here's the other thing that about training is when you give your team training, they're able to work more efficiently. So again, you don't want to have a lot of dead weight. You want to have people who are really good, who know what to do, who know how to do the things in your store, who know how your stores run, and that way they can help your customers effectively and go out and do a great job, keeping your store running. So training is so important. And a couple of people asked this question. Abby Flores, Jessica Peterson, Kristen, just to name a few, all said, what should I tell my team to say when people come in and say, how's business? Are you going to raise prices? What are you going to do? And this is a perfect example of training, right? This is a perfect example of you help your team members know what to say. So now my answer to this question, and Susan, you might want to chime in here too. My suggestion is that you are honest yet positive. And the honest answer is, I really don't know right now. Things are changing all the time. But here's what I can tell you. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we take really good care of you. You see, that's not lying. Oh, everything's great, because everybody knows everything isn't great. So what you're doing there is you're being transparent, you're being honest, but you're also being optimistic. This idea of realism and optimism can coexist. In fact, it should coexist. So that is how I would frame that whole thing. I don't know what's going on. We are getting some notifications that prices are going up. We're not sure what's going to happen. Everything's sort of in a wait and see mode. But here's what we can tell you. We can tell you that you are our number one priority. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we take great care of you. You, the customer, you are important to us. That's what people want to hear, right? That's what people want to hear. That's how you don't become a commodity. That's how you become the store of choice in a world of infinite options. Let me say that again. That's how you don't become a commodity. That's how you become the store of choice in a world of infinite options. Susan.
I'm just going to say I think everybody should go back and replay that part after this thing is over, because I think you've said just the exact perfect thing. It's the thing your customers want and need to hear. Right? They're feeling uncertain and unsettled as well. And they're counting on you to be honest with them, but also to be a place of security and hope.
Thank you. I know that's exactly right. Here's what people want from their local independent brick and mortar retailers. They want to feel like they're on your team. And they want to feel like you're on their team, right? They want to feel like you are in this together. And if you can make them feel like they are in this together, look, there's plenty of money in the economy. People still have money to spend. It's just not as loose as it is when times are really good. So by creating this environment where you feel like you're in this together, people will support you because they want to support you. People will support you because you make them feel good, and supporting you makes them feel good. So just recognize this. This is probably a great opportunity to introduce the concept of ADD also. So ADD is an acronym for ask, discuss, decide. Ask your team what they think you should do. What would they feel comfortable saying? How do your customers, how do they think they will respond? Discuss it and then decide on a script. If you're taking notes, write this down. Let them help you plan the fight, and they won't fight the plan. So through all of these tricky situations, if you're sitting there taking the burden on yourself, I would suggest unnecessarily, I'm going to suggest that if you just bring it to your team and say, hey, help me think this through. When you do that, your team is going to rally around you, right? You're putting the rule of reciprocity into play. You're giving them, and you're going to get their buy-in. You're going to get their best ideas. You're going to get their loyalty. You're going to get them to enthusiastically help you and your business by helping your customers. So that is part of training, making sure that your team knows what to do. The second part, and this is so important, is focus on the average sale. So you may see a drop in foot traffic because people are feeling anxious about their own money, right? Again, let's work from the assumption there's plenty of money. People are just holding back a little bit to wait and see what's happening, kind of like what you're doing. So I wouldn't expect a rush of new customers in your store, but if you do the things that we're going to talk about in just a minute here in marketing, you're going to be able to get people into your store. Then what's important? What's important is that you maximize every single opportunity. Remember, we talked about focus and efficiency. So focus is you focus on them and their sales training. Efficiency is what happens when they're good because they're going to get more from every customer. So I was just at Crystal's Vilkaitis' Evolve event last week, and I was doing a program on team building, on culture building. And one of the things that when I do this, I talk about sales training, right? Because you want a great team that knows how to sell, right? How to create a customer focused, service driven culture that sells. And we did what we call the gap exercise. And the gap is the space between the dollar volume between your average ticket and your best salesperson. And I'm going to ask you to put that in chat if you don't mind. What's your average sale and what's the average sale of your best salesperson? Now, that gap represents opportunity. Let me say it again. That gap represents opportunity. So I said, would anybody be willing to share your numbers? And somebody generously raised their hand and said, my average sale is $70. My best salesperson, their average is $120. So what I suggested to her is that you could either be upset that you're losing that $50 per transaction, or you can recognize that there's an opportunity to grow the average ticket by $50, right? Because that person who is averaging 120 isn't getting a better quality customer. They're just selling more skillfully. So what can you do? You can. I mean, really, the thing that I would strongly encourage you to do right now is to invest in the Retail Sales Academy. Get your people. Like, there's 4 hours of training in basic certification. You can have your team up and running and selling skillfully in a week and close that gap. And again, in the name of efficiency, do more with every customer who comes in the store. Because when you have trained salespeople, they're going to feel more, they're going to be able to engage your customers more skillfully. They'll show them the right merchandise. They'll be more comfortable selling higher priced goods. They'll know when, where, and how to add on. They're just going to build your average ticket, right? And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to be as efficient as possible by having the right people on your team and having the right people do the most with every single resource you have. And the most valuable resource, of course, is your customers. Susan, questions or comments? I see you typing furiously over there.
Sure, and I'll just answer this question because it's taking me too long to type it out.
Okay.
Shelly says, over what time period are we talking about? We're talking about the gap
Yes.
question, the year, the month. And the answer is, Shelly, you can look at it over multiple different time periods. So I would definitely take a look at it over the last year, because that's going to give you a broad look at the overall performance of your staff. But then I do love the idea of taking a look at it over just the last month, because that tells you what's the current situation happening on your floor right now. So I think doing that exercise over both time periods, super valuable.
Yeah, and so Shelly, this is a great question. So just think about this. Right now, if your average ticket is $50, and in a month, you could get it to $55, which is it is doable. I mean, I'm just telling you, it is imminently doable. So that's an extra $5 per transaction. This is what you're making, right? Over the course of a month. And so let's talk about something else that's very interesting, and that's going to bring me into something else. One of the things that I decided not to talk about is we'll talk about it a little bit, but this idea of cutting costs and versus making investments. Because one of the things that you should do when times are uncertain is you should really look at all of your expenses and say, is this necessary? Go out.
Stuff like your cost of insurance, for example. It's not going to generate any extra volume for you. It's an expense, not an investment.
Right. That's exactly right. And an investment would be the Retail Sales Academy, because if you invest in your people and give them the skills to sell, let's just say that you invest $200 a month in the Retail Sales Academy, or $250. but you return an extra $5 or $10 for every transaction. This is what we call an investment with a really positive return. So just recognize, and your team is an investment. A dead weight employee is a cost. A great employee who knows how to sell, who goes out on the floor and does a great job with your customers, is an investment. And we talked about that earlier. So let's stop for just a moment, because what we're going to talk about next is we're going to talk about assortment planning and buying. But before we do that, speaking of investments and speaking of really, really building your mindset and skill set so that you're more resilient no matter what happens in the economy, is all a function of education and inspiration. And right now you can register for the Retail Success Summit, and you can save $500. It's half off right now. And if at the end of the first day you don't think this is a great investment in your business, call us up. We'll give you everything you paid plus $500 back, right? So we've taken all of the risk away. So you may be going, wait a second, I don't want to spend any money right now. But I'm looking at you and saying that if you're in the room, the virtual room, it's a virtual Retail Success Summit. If you're in our world for 3.5 days, you're going to leave that event better equipped to deal with anything. You're going to leave that event empowered. You're going to leave that event with more skills, right? Here's something that I want to share with you that I think is really important also, is when you go through hard times, when the hard times end, no matter, and they will end, right? No matter what happens, there was the Great Depression, there was, the depressions, recessions, all of these things. Whenever times get hard, it forces you to get better, right? The fact that you're here right now, the fact that we're talking about build a better team, teach them how to sell. We're going to talk about inventory. We're going to talk about marketing. All of these skills that you develop in reaction to hard times are skills that you're going to still have with you when times turn around. So if you become a better manager, if you develop a service culture that sells, if you become a better marketer, when this ends, and it will end, you're going to be a better, more resilient business person because of it. You're going to be better. So I just want to encourage you to recognize that and please do, especially if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness, register for the Retail Success Summit. It's virtual. You don't have to get on a plane. You can save $500 right now. Do it right now. Don't hesitate. Don't let fear get in the way. Remember, there's a money better than money back guarantee. Okay, so having said that, let's talk about assortment planning. And so I didn't even know what assortment planning was until I met Susan. But assortment planning is choosing what you sell, choosing your merchandise mix. Indy, could you get me some water, please? Thank you. And so let's talk about that. What should you carry? How should you think about your merchandise? Your merchandise is what you sell. I'm going to call it your mix. And so one of the questions that was asked is, when should I raise prices? And there is no right answer. Somebody posted on Whizbang Retailers. By the way, if you're not a member of Whizbang Retailers, I would strongly encourage you to join. Indy's sliding under there, getting some. Yeah, there you go.
I can't even get it.
And I'm going to ask Susan what she thinks about this too. But so my feeling is when it comes in is when the price gets raised. But we're going to talk later about how you sort of offset that whole thing. I'm going to say it again. There's things that I'm going to share with you how to keep your margins strong. But if you're a good retailer with a good team that knows how to sell, that by having a team that engages skillfully, the price resistance becomes less dominant, right? Walmart has a huge, I mean, they're all about the price. Amazon is all about the price. You're about the experience. So that would be my suggestion in general, but everybody's business is different, everybody's industry is different, everybody's circumstance is different. If you sell a commodity type of product, you have to be careful. If you sell luxury goods, you don't have to be nearly as careful. If you private label, which we're going to talk about, you don't have to be so careful. So the reason that I'm sharing all of that is because that's a question that kept coming up, but there's not one cut and dry answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now my advice with pricing would just to be very non-reactive, right? Very
Yes.
calm and non-reactive. Like we don't really know what's coming down the pike, and that creates lots of internal tension and anxiety and all this stuff that's going on. But just it's like what your dad would always say, Bob: act, don't react.
Yeah.
Right? Act, don't react. And so I would be calm and non-reactive and careful about changing prices until your prices actually change. And then I'm going to answer a question from Shelly. And maybe you are about to answer this, Bob, so I don't want to step on your toes. But her question is, and maybe I'll throw it to you. What do you feel about buying now to avoid prices going up? Is that your next one? All right. So I knew that about 10 people replied to our email and asked that question. So I'm going to throw that one to you.
Again, it's hard to give a cut and dried answer. But going back to Susan's point, if you say, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of stuff right now, that may be a reaction, and it depends. If it's a commodity, if it's a bestseller, then it makes sense to stock up. The next note that I have here is this idea of narrow and deep. So rather than having a whole bunch of stuff, make sure that you sell, that you have in stock the things that people expect from you. Susan, you sent me an email, and it was from fashion, but what they were saying is that when times get tricky, the American consumer, Canadians, consumers tend to lean towards more quality goods rather than buy fast fashion because quality goods they know are going to last. So if they're your best sellers, if you're in the pet business and you can stock up on your favorite brand of foods, collars, all those things, then it makes sense. But just to say, oh my gosh, there's tariffs coming, I need to spend all my money. Somebody asked about that. My open to buy, I'm going to put all my open to buy into things willy-nilly. That's not a good strategy. So
yeah, I would also say that you don't want to buy. Certainly, be careful not to buy more than you think you can sell in whatever your turnover time is. Like between now and the end of the year, don't buy more than you can sell in that time period just because the price might be going up.
Yeah.
Lots of things might change. We just don't know. I think this is the basic quality of our current situation is uncertainty.
Yes.
And so I would not counsel you to overbuy based on this feeling of uncertainty.
Based on a feeling.
Feeling.
Right. But based on a feeling. I think that's so smart, Susan.
But I love what Patty Zeller said here. She said, I really focused on fast selling. Excellent.
Yep.
Like, because you want to be able to get out of stuff
Yep.
if stuff does happen.
Yep.
High margin goods.
Yep. Yep.
So that is a great strategy.
So speaking of Patty, because
Patty's one of our platinum mastermind
yes.
members.
And speaking of Patty, so my next piece of advice is good, better, best. So in your top categories, have 3 different price points, because if somebody is feeling the pinch, you want to be able to offer them different price points. And Patty, in her, she has a pet store. In her comments, when we asked for comments, she said she is making sure that she has what she calls healthy budget brands, meaning healthy pet food, but that are at a good price point. So people may feel comfortable dialing down their average price point, but you don't want to lose them because you don't have their price point. And Melanie said, will my price points survive? And yes, they will eventually, but you may want to bring in some lower price points to sort of go through the tide. But you really want to be careful, narrow and deep. A couple of other things here that can really help is to bundle. And I think it was Jeremiah Townsend who suggested this in his comments, because when you bundle, you're changing the perceived value. So you can bundle products and services. You can bundle products. You can bundle by price points, good, better, best. You can bundle by category. There's all sorts of ways that you can bundle. But bundling is a fantastic way to build the average ticket and to sort of disguise a price increase. So let me give you an example. Let's say your prices went up on a popular item. So if you can build a bundle with that popular item and have high margin items that go into that bundle, you're sort of disguising the fact that that item standing by itself, the price did go up. So bundling is a great way to sort of, again, disguise, and that's not being unethical or not transparent. It's just a great way to get around pricing psychology, which leads me to the next thing, which is buying into bundles, buying into merchandise. So be very, very proactive about looking for great deals. Call your vendors. This is a perfect time to build your relationships with your vendors, to ask them. They're going through the same thing you are, right? You're 2 human beings on the same team trying to get to the same place, which is the other side of all this craziness, right? So your vendors are having the same problems you are. And if you go at them. If you talk to them in the spirit of cooperation, you're much more likely to come to a place where you're in a win-win-win. You win, they win, your customers win. And just recognize that your vendors have the same problems that you have, right? And so if you can talk to them and buy their closeouts, buy their overstocks, find people who sell closeouts, who sell overstocks, that's a perfect way for you to keep your margins strong while you may be losing some margin because you don't want to increase prices on stuff from China per se, for instance, too high. So buying into high margin goods are another way to sort of get around what's happening here. And the final thing is, and this is long term, but if you haven't started thinking about it yet, I would start thinking about it right now. And that is, what can you private label? Not everybody can private label, But if you're in apparel, you can absolutely private label. So many of our clients are private labeling now, because then you're not playing the price game, because they can't compare it anywhere, because it's your label, right? So that would be the only other thing that I have here is to dig into your data. Really take a look. What are your best sellers? What are your dogs? When I say dogs, I mean slow movers. And get rid of your dogs. When we talk about efficiency, one more note I have here before we get into marketing is this idea of piles beget piles. If your stock room looks like a hurricane ran through it, if you have a storage bin filled with old merchandise, I'm suggesting to you that right now.
A storage bin full of merchandise. You just made me freak out over here.
But I know that some of you have it, right? And, piles beget piles. If your stock room is trashed, guess what? It's just going to keep getting more trash. So again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to become tight. We're trying to become good. We're trying to become efficient. So take all of that overstock, take all of that shop worn stuff, take everything that's, sitting in a pile in your office, demos, all that stuff. Get rid of it. You want to be clean. You want to be efficient. You want it to work. And one of the things that I know that is, if you have piles, those piles get bigger, and those piles represent cash. So you want to take those piles, you want to get rid of them. You want your store to be clean. You want it to run great. And piles make it less efficient for your team to get out there on the floor and sell to. So anything else, Susan, before I go on to marketing?
No, they're saying great things. Like Lori says, I like to offer a gift with purchase to my customers.
Perfect.
You can private label so much more than clothing. Candy says you can private label so much more than clothing.
Yes.
Candy is one of our Platinum Mastermind group members. She is a private label queen. So she is amazing.
Candy.
And yes, you can private label lots and lots of different things. So I think this is lots of great comments.
Good. Okay. And open to buy planning is more important than ever. If you're not using open to buy planning yet, the name of the game in today's retail world, you being a brick and mortar retailer, is it's no longer enough for you to have a passion for your product. Passion for your product is not enough to make you profitable. You have to be a skilled merchant. You have to have a passion for being good, which is another reason you really need to be at the Virtual Retail Success Summit, right? You need to get better all the time. The world is changing. Expectations are up. Loyalty is down. And if you're not a great merchant, you're going to have a harder and harder time competing. You're going to fall farther and farther behind. And being a skilled buyer, using open to buy planning in your business, it's almost table stakes. So I just want to talk about that. So what have we gone through so far? We've gone through mindset. We've gone through your team. That's all the skills that are involved with leadership and management. We've gone through the skill set of assortment planning. We've gone through the skill set of inventory management. Now, the final skill set that we're going to dig into, and then I'm going to open the floor to questions, is marketing. And my notes are this. First of all, just show up. Just show up. Be yourself. Marie Foley, Platinum Mastermind Group member Marie Foley, said that the name of her game right now is Party with Positivity, right? You want people to be attracted to you and your energy and the energy of your store and the energy of your team. You want people to want to come into your store because you're you, right? You're you. And this is important. You can't out Amazon Amazon. You can't out Walmart, but Amazon and Walmart together can't out you. People want to be attracted to the people that they buy with, the vibe of your store, the vibe of your team. And Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpeter, had a great quote. He says, sometimes it takes a long time to sound like yourself. And so for those of you who are feeling a little anxious about showing up as yourself, just recognize putting yourself out there will attract the kind of people who should be your customers. So show up, be yourself. Marie, relentless positivity, that's how she's showing up. I'm encouraging you to just recognize that if you show up fearfully, people are going to stay away. If you show up positively, people are going to be attracted to and come into your store because of your positivity. My next note here is more and better communication. So if you're sending, you should be sending an email at least once a week. And that email shouldn't just be about your promotions. It should be something that makes people feel good. It could be an invitation to something fun that you're doing in your store. It could be a tip. It could be something that's valuable. It could be something funny. But you need to stay in front of your customers. So whether it's email, or text messaging, or whether you're showing up on Facebook or Instagram Lives, activity. So what are we doing? So we're talking to them, but our communication is giving them a reason to come in. So, it's interesting because in the Platinum Mastermind group, Maureen Doran said that she has an in-store, and she shared this in the Retail Marketing Club meeting last time too. She has an in-store promotion every single week. And sometimes they're huge, sometimes they're little, but every single week she has something going on in her store. What does that do? That gives her the opportunity, it gives people a reason to come in. Remember, there's only 3 ways to grow your business. Get new customers, increase the average ticket, which was what we've talked about, and get more transactions per customer. Get your customers in more and more. So what we can't do is spend a lot of energy on things that we hope will work. We want to be incredibly efficient. We want to do the things that are most likely to work. And talking to your current customers and giving them a reason to come into your store is the way to do that. And so the final, so what do I have? I go live, in-store events. Oh, I want to share one more thing because I talked about Maureen doing something every week, and Candy, who just chimed in about private labeling, she's in the Platinum Mastermind group, and she recently noted on our Platinum Mastermind group Facebook page that since she has taken Maureen's lead and is increasing the number of promotions activity in her store, she's seeing real deal sales increases. You see, this is the difference between sitting back and being afraid and being brave and doing shit, right? I mean, just getting out there and doing things. The final thing with marketing, and then we're going to open it up to questions, comes from our friend Misha Seto. So for years, I have been teaching and preaching that you are responsible for your traffic. So that I am saying that you don't wait for people to come in, you bring people in, you attract people in your store, you give them a reason. And, so people would say to me all the time, oh, I'm closed on Sunday because everybody in my town is closed. And my answer was always, no. Just because your town is closed doesn't mean you should be closed. Do something to get somebody in, right? It's up to you. You're responsible for your traffic. But then Misha Seto allowed me to create a term. And the term is the Pina Colada Principle. If you're taking notes, write that down. And the Pina Colada Principle says that you can always Do something to get people in your store. And why is it named the Pina Colada Principle? So Misha has, I think, 12 stores in Lewis, Delaware, and it's a beach town. And when it rains, people stay inside, right? They don't go out shopping. And so Misha understands that she's responsible for her traffic. So what she did was she started selling or serving, not selling, serving pina coladas in her store whenever it rains. So the tie-in is the song, "If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain." Most of you know that song. So that's the tie-in. And so whenever it rains, she sells pina coladas, and now she's busy. And that's why it's called the Pina Colada Principle. So whenever you start to become stressed about not having enough traffic, first of all, understand, recognize, remember the Pina Colada Principle. And the second thing I'm going to recommend is that you ADD this with your team. So times are tough. You and your team get together and say, what are we going to do about this? Remember, we're entrepreneurs. We figure shit out. Things are uncertain. They are unsettled. That does not mean the sky is falling. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been through COVID. This is nothing compared to COVID. So whenever you start to feel that, remember, always respond to stress with action. Get your team to help you respond to stress with action. You can do this. You can do this. There is plenty of money in the world. Our friend Randy Gage had this great quote. He said, there's no shortage of money. There's just a shortage of ideas. And if you and your team keep coming up with ideas and you keep doing things, activity, and you do the things that I've shared with you here, good things are going to happen. You have this, right? To Susan's point, we don't know what's going to happen. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. If it makes you feel better to have you should have some sort of backup plan. You want to be aware. You want to be thinking in backup plans, but you don't want to obsess about it. You don't want to obsess about it. You want to be calm, clear. You want to make good decisions. To my dad's point, act, don't react. The sky hasn't fallen. Don't take on that thing don't take that on yourself.
Yeah, just remember, guys, you have a lot of control over what happens to you in ways that bigger companies don't. You have customers that care a lot more about you than other companies. Focus on the things that you have control over, and that will motivate you and inspire you and encourage you, and rather than focusing on the things that you don't have any control over, that none of us have any control over. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Oh, well, thank you, Susan. That was really nicely said. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Patty likes your singing.
Okay. Here's something else. Yes, you need to be aware of what's going on in the world, but maybe now's the time to turn off the headlines, to turn off social media, to not let those, the news makes their money off of bad news, right? The media makes their money off of bad news. Bad news sells. Good news doesn't sell. You be the good news and don't let the bad news. You want to be aware. You want to be realistic, but you want to be optimistic at the same time. And those two can sit together beautifully. That's actually the way to do it. You want to have the comfort of having a plan B, or if you're the kind of person who needs a plan C, have those. But you also want to be aware and positive enough to know that, yeah, you've got this. You have this. So I want to share one more thing, then Susan has something.
So we do have one question.
Okay. So let me finish this up, and then I'll answer any and all questions. So Susan and I were in a mastermind with a brilliant entrepreneur named Chris Knight. And I talked about this on a video I did on Whiz Bang Retailers. But Chris has an absolutely fantastic quote that I'd like to share with you and sort of to kind of wrap this up. And he said, in the beginning of a business, the more you do, the more you make. But there comes a time in a business where the more you think, the more you make. And since it's hard to do and think at the same time, it becomes smart to think more. And that's why I'm so honored that you're here, right? You're thinking about your business. You're bringing in information that you can process for your own situation to do better, more efficient work. And I also want to encourage you to recognize that coming to the Retail Success Summit will be one of those opportunities for you to quit doing and really sit back and start to think. You'll build a plan. You'll gain perspective. You'll talk to other people. You'll, meet people who can help your business. So if you haven't registered yet, this is an opportunity. This is not a cost. This is an investment. And remember, if you come to day one and you're not thrilled, call us up. We'll give you all your money plus $500. Basically, what you're being offered right now is a double your money back guarantee. Can you beat that? I don't think so. So anyway, I wanted to sort of end with that because we are a little late, but now let's get to questions.
Well, first of all, everybody's saying thank you. Apple Yarn says, this is the best Facebook Live you've ever done. So there you go.
All
That's
right.
wonderful. I hope that it has been a great, reset for your mind and for your actions. So that's good. The question that we had, I've got to scroll all the way back here, was from Shelley, I believe. Oh, no, Lydia. Lydia says, how do you get rid of all that old stock then?
Well.
Hold on. She
okay.
says, reduce prices just don't seem to be moving items for us. We need some ideas to help move it. So a bunch of people popped on and gave her some ideas like mystery bundles and things like that. Do you have some ideas for her?
Well, I was just going to say, some people do buy one, get one. They create bundles. They don't even have to be mystery bundles. You can bundle them with existing. I mean, mystery bundles work like a charm for a lot of people.
She's a dancewear store too.
So
this is great. I love your bundle idea because then you've got these and she's got sizes and she's got different things. So how can you bundle a leotard, a tight, an accessory all together for a, some sort of a, I don't know, you got to come up with a fun name for it. So I like that bundle idea. The other thing that I would say, and then you can go back with more of your ideas, is instead of doing a percentage off, try a price point. Try racks.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That are just price points. So, like, don't say 20% off. Say everything on this rack's $5 or $10 or whatever it is. Like, if they're not buying it, first of all, turn it into cash. Right? That's like having it sitting in your back room is just tying up cash that you need to invest into new merchandise. So really important. Oh, look, you can see my hand. I'm gesturing. Sorry. That's funny. Sorry about that.
I'm not the only person in our family who talks with their hands.
The other thing I would say is get on there, organize this stuff into some sort of a story and go live.
Yeah. Oh, I love that idea.
Right? Go live. And I know that some of it's last season stuff. The schools, want different things every different season. And some of those parents want to buy on sale, right? Their kids are, they can use this merchandise. So go live and do a little clearance live. Specifically invite the people who have purchased the items in the sizes that you have left. Like if you can get that info from your point of sale system, invite those people specifically to your live or send an email specifically to those people, right? So lots of different things you can do to move your.
Yeah, and so the final.
Oh,
thing...
I had one other idea. Sorry, just forgot my other idea.
That's all right.
The other thing, I'm going to put my hand is out, going to be out there, and I'm gesturing wildly again. Sorry. The other thing you can do is create a Facebook group that is a clearance group for your store. This works really well. So like as you have clearance items, you post it in your clearance group. So not in your regular Facebook feed or for your store or your group, but people who are looking for the deal. We sometimes affectionately call them the bottom feeders.
Yes.
They're the greatest part of any retail ecosystem, right? And create a clearance.
Yeah.
Facebook
So our friend Sarah Harrison has a store up in Canada, in Ontario, and the name of her store is Coriander. And so her Facebook group is Coriander's Secret Closet, and it's a group, and that's where all of her clearance stuff goes. And I'll just say, and so I love all of these strategies. I love the Facebook clearance thing, but at some level, dump it or donate it. Going back to this idea of piles beget piles. Do what you can to get rid of it. But if it doesn't go at 50% or 75%, or if it doesn't go, make it go away. Again, what do you want? You want your stock room to be clean and neat and organized. Right now is the time for you to be an operator. And all sorts of shop-worn merchandise, old merchandise, is not a good indicator of a great operator. So those were all great ideas to clear it out. But if they don't work, dump it, donate it, make it go away. Any other questions, Susan?
Nope. Nope. Everybody wants to know if they can rewatch this because there's so many good ideas. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can rewatch it. I'm terrible at remembering to turn the mic on. Sorry, I don't usually have to do that. Yes, you can rewatch this on our Facebook page. It'll be up here for, well, how long does Facebook give us now, Indy? 30 days. We don't know. Uncertain.
On YouTube.
It'll be on YouTube
Speaking
forever.
of uncertainty.
Uncertain times. Like we just like social media is uncertain, tariffs are uncertain, everything's uncertain. We just don't know, right? But we still have control over a lot of things.
And that's where that whole idea of emotional amplitude, right? Okay, this is what's happening today. Let me share one last thing with you. And this is probably, for a lot of people, this is the best piece of business advice I ever gave them. And I didn't make this up. I learned this from a guy named Tom Williams. We don't need to tell the whole story, but here's the thing to recognize. It's just business, right? It's just business. And if you can take that a very, very matter of fact, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm going to do about it. Just have this act, don't react. Be as emotionally neutral to your problems as possible. That will give you the mental space to make the best decisions. And then the final thing, I won't even go there, but it's just business, right? We're just plowing through it. So let me just, to end it all, remember, you got this. You've got this. Just take a deep breath, catch, relax, release, move forward, stay calm and retail on. So anyway, we're also honored that you're here live with us. And if you're watching this as a replay, we're honored that you're giving us that time that way too. And so I really hope that we see some of you at the Virtual Retail Success Summit. Indy, I'm sure you put the link in there a couple of times. So it's going to be an awesome, awesome event. You will leave with tons and tons of great information that you can use. You will leave inspired. It will be one of those things that will give you momentum for many, many, many months.
And because it's virtual, it's so affordable for you to come, and it's so easy. Watch it, in your pajamas from your couch. Just make sure you have your notebook and your pen ready to go because the ideas are amazing.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're honored. Take care.